Hey guys, today we're going to be revisiting the drugstore makeup tag. This is a tag that was created by Jen Phelps, a drugstore queen. She does the best drugstore makeup reviews. I'll leave her channel and video linked below. But recently one of you guys requested me to do an updated version of this tag because my original one was back in 2020, so a lot has changed since then. One of the brands I talked about in that video is no longer even in business, Jordana. That was one of my favorite drugstore brands back then. Since then, I have discovered a lot of new favorites, and a lot has just changed in the drugstore makeup landscape. So we're going to revisit the tag. Let's go ahead and get into the questions. Question number one, if you could only use one drugstore / affordable brand, what would it be? Okay, my answer to this might shock you, but I picked CoverGirl. I know, kind of out of left field, but the reason for that is because, I was going through all of the drugstore brands that I've tried, and, at first I was thinking e.l.f. I think in my original video I did answer e.l.f. to this question, but e.l.f., the area where e.l.f. is lacking is, to me, one of the most important areas, which is complexion products. I liked their Hydrating Camo Concealer. I haven't ever tried a foundation from e.l.f. that I liked, so that's the big reason why I didn't want to pick that one. But the reason why I chose CoverGirl is because they have a ton of different foundations, most of which I haven't even tried, but I feel like there's got to be at least one foundation in their line that would work for me. I did enjoy the Clean Fresh Skin Milk, although I do think it broke me out, so that one I probably wouldn't pick up again, but there's got to be at least one foundation in CoverGirl's line that would work well for me. I know I've heard a lot of good things about several different ones from them, so I feel like that would be a safe choice. I've also heard great things about their concealer. I love their pressed powder. They also have a lot of mascaras that I like. I know I like the Lash Blast Volume, just the original one in the orange tube. That's just a really good, reliable mascara. And they have a bunch of other mascaras that people seem to really like. So I don't think I'd have any trouble there. And I just think overall CoverGirl is a solid brand. They've been around for a long time. Their prices are, decent, although some of their new products are getting up there. But for the most part, I think if there's something I'm looking for in a certain makeup category, CoverGirl will probably have one that I'll like well enough. The next question is, what is the most underrated drugstore brand? And I'm gonna have to go with Kokie on this one. I mean, I don't feel like Kokie gets a ton of buzz. Honestly, the only reason I tried the brand is because they sent me PR. I didn't really have access to Kokie when we lived in Georgia, so they just weren't really on my radar, but once I tried some of their products, I fell in love, especially with their lip liner. I'm wearing their lip liner in Nude today. It's my favorite lip liner. I'm almost done with this one and I've already purchased a backup. I don't think I've tried a product yet from Kokie that I didn't like. I'm liking their new eyebrow pencils. I'm liking, of course, their soft gradient blushes, I love. And I just haven't tried a single dud from them yet. I also really like their hair blow drying round brush. Kind of a random one, but really liking that too. So I think Kokie is very underrated, and I think the reason for that is just because they're not very easy to find in stores, but actually here in Washington they are pretty easy to find. I find them at Fred Meyer and Bartell's. I think they have a store locator on their website if you want to see if there's one near you, but if you're in the market for some new drugstore makeup, I think Kokie is an amazing brand, and their products are pretty well priced as well. Most of their products are under $10, which is getting harder and harder to find now. Next question, what is the most overrated drugstore brand? This is another one that might surprise you, but I'm gonna have to say Milani. Now, Milani has a lot of products that I do love. In general, I feel like Milani is very hit or miss. Like, they have some big hits, but they also have some big misses. A few of their most popular products are ones that just did not work for me at all. The concealer, I really didn't like. I know a lot of people love that concealer, the Conceal and Perfect concealer. It's been out for a while, but that one was just so dry on my under eyes, and the coverage was kind of just so-so. And then also the rose powder blush, I hear a lot of people recommend, and I hated it. It was so dry and so just hard pan city. And same with their Silky Matte Bronzer. That's another really popular product that was just like constantly hard panned and just so hard to use. So even though Milani has some really good products, I feel like whenever they launch new products, they get a ton of buzz, people are so excited, but they're one of those brands that either I love the product or I hate the product. I wish they would just be a little more consistent. Question number 4, what is your favorite drugstore product under $5? So I have a few that I was debating between, but I would say my current favorite is the Wet n Wild Mega Last lipstick in the shade Skinny Dipping. I've been loving this. I cannot believe the quality of this for the price. A lot of other lipsticks that are under $5 feel cheap, like whether it's the packaging or just the feeling of the lipstick, the smell, the taste, whatever. But this, I mean, obviously they are kind of trying to copy Pat McGrath with this packaging, but it's way cuter than a lot of other like really affordable lipsticks. The packaging actually feels a lot more sturdy, and this is just like my perfect light, cool toned nude color. I was looking for a color like this. I saw this at the store and I just kind of picked it up on a whim, and it was everything I was looking for. The formula of this is great. It's matte, but it's not drying at all. It doesn't like tug at my lips. It still feels like you might have to warm it up a little bit, but once you do, it is so creamy. It just glides right on. It stays in place well. It wears really well. I would think that this is probably even a good formula to try for more like bold colors, because it doesn't dry or lock into place or anything, but because it is a matte formula, it really doesn't drift outside the lips. Even if you choose to skip a lip liner, it still stays in place really well. So I would say this is my current favorite under $5 product. Question number 5, what is a hidden gem from the drugstore that no one talks about? I decided to go with kind of a random one here, but this is the CoverGirl Lid Lockup Eyeshadow Primer, and I picked this one because A, I don't hear very many people talking about this at all, and I also feel like this is one of those products that I use every single day that I just haven't given it the recognition that it deserves. You get a ton of bang for your buck with this product. Like, I thought I was almost done with it, but then I took the stopper out and there was so much left, and it hasn't dried out yet either. So it has stayed good even having the stopper taken out for like 2 months. And this is just such a workhorse product. I have never had creasing or fading with my eyeshadow when I use this primer, and there are other primers I've tried that weren't as good as this. Like I didn't like the Ulta Beauty Matte Eye Primer nearly as much as this one. Sometimes I did get creasing with that one. The Anastasia Beverly Hills Eyeshadow Primer also just was nowhere near as good as this. I feel like this is just as good as the Urban Decay Primer Potion, maybe even better. It works amazingly. It's lasted me forever. I use it every day, and honestly, I would consider repurchasing this next time I need a new eyeshadow primer, because it just does the job. It does a great job just holding my eyeshadows in place, and I feel like it deserves more recognition both on my channel and in the beauty community as a whole. You know, there are other drugstore eyeshadow primers I feel like get a lot more hype than this, like the Milani one, the Ulta Beauty one, like I said. You know, of course the Urban Decay Primer Potion gets a ton of buzz, but this deserves more hype. Definitely. Question number 6 is, what is your favorite drugstore foundation? This was an easy one for me. Definitely would have to be the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation. This has been my favorite drugstore foundation for a couple of years now. I'm like over halfway done with this bottle. I definitely think I will be finished with this at some point this year. This is just everything that I look for in a foundation. It's medium buildable coverage, a satin finish, wears really well throughout the day, it's a little bit blurring, and ultimately just makes my skin look amazing, which is kind of the goal of a foundation. So love this one. If I had to only buy CoverGirl makeup, I would definitely miss this foundation. The next question is, what products do you tend to buy more at the drugstore versus high-end? I do try to default to drugstore for everything, but there are certain categories where I almost never buy high-end. So for me, I wrote down powder. I think the drugstore makes so many great powders that I don't know if I will, I mean, I probably will buy another high-end powder at some point, but I am heavily leaning towards just sticking to the drugstore for face powders. I love the e.l.f. Halo Glow. I love the CoverGirl Clean Fresh pressed powder. I'm sure there are many more I haven't tried that I would like, but I just feel like, you know, powder is one of those products that the drugstore seems to do really well. So I almost always buy drugstore powders. Also blush. It's rare that I try a blush that I don't like, whether it's drugstore or high-end. I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to blushes, and the drugstore makes so many beautiful blush formulas, both cream and powder. Another one is lip products. Lip products of all kinds. Lip liners, lipsticks, lip glosses. I just mentioned that $3 Wet n Wild lipstick that I love. The Kokie lip liners. Essence makes some good lip liners. So many great lip options at the drugstore. And then the last two categories I wrote down were eyeliner and mascara. Same deal as the previous categories. There are just so many good drugstore eyeliners that I love. The NYX Epic Wear eyeliner sticks, CoverGirl eyeliners, and then mascaras as well. Mascara really just because you do have to replace mascara pretty frequently, so I don't really like to spend more than $10 on a mascara if I can help it. Those are my 5 categories that I tend to buy more at the drugstore: powder, blush, lip products, eyeliner, and mascara. The next question is, what drugstore brand do you think is overpriced? So I think you could argue that a lot of drugstore brands are getting overpriced currently, but one drugstore brand that I think is overpriced but the quality does not seem to match the price tag at all is Pacifica. Their products are so expensive. I think they would be considered a drugstore brand because they're sold in drugstores and they're sold in the drugstore side of Ulta, but their products are so expensive, and I have tried hardly any products from Pacifica that I actually liked. It's funny, I was looking back at my previous answers to this when I did this drugstore makeup tag in 2020, and my favorite drugstore foundation at that time was the Pacifica Elite foundation. And there was a stretch of time where I loved that foundation. I was so into that foundation. But then by the time I finished it up, I'd kind of changed my mind about it. I think I got sick of it and just realized it was a little bit too heavy for my skin. So that was one product from them that I did like, at least for a time, but it didn't really stand the test of time. And that's the only Pacifica makeup product I think I've ever liked. There is that vegan collagen mascara from them that I'm interested in trying, but it's like $16, which is practically a high-end. Like, for that price, I might as well just buy a high-end mascara, you know? So I think Pacifica is overpriced, and the quality just does not seem to be good enough to be paying those prices. Question number 9, what is your favorite drugstore dupe? So I don't think I currently have any like true drugstore dupes in my collection, but there is one. Well, I guess honestly, the CoverGirl lid lockup primer I would say is a good dupe or alternative for the Urban Decay primer potion. I feel like it's practically the same thing. But another drugstore alternative to a popular high-end product I would say that I think is really, really good is the LA Girl Dream Glitter Iridescent Liquid Eyeshadow. This is, to me, this is just like the Stila Glitter and Glow. This is just such a beautiful eyeshadow topper, and I mean, I don't know how popular the Stila Glitter and Glow shadows are now. I mean, they've been kind of a cult favorite for years, but I mean, this is the shade Rose Gold. They have a few other shades as well. I mean, just look at that shine. It is so beautiful, almost a little bit duochrome as well, and it just makes a stunning eyeshadow topper. You top this over any rose gold kind of eye look, and it just takes the shimmer and sparkle to the next level. Even though I always tend to neglect liquid shadows like this, I do really like this one when I do remember to use it, and if you like the Stila Glitter and Glows, I think you would also really like these. Question number 10, another easy one for me. This was what's the best drugstore eyeshadow formula, and this one hands down would have to be Flower Beauty. The Flower 6-pan palettes, you know, are just unmatched at the drugstore. It just doesn't get any better than these. They are pricey for the drugstore. They're like close to $20, but they do go on sale. I would say every few months they go on sale on Ulta. So those are just, to me, unrivaled. And then same thing with the Chrome Crush Pressed Pigment. I have this in the shade Quartz. This is another gorgeous sparkly topper. This was kind of an impulse purchase for me, but I am so glad that I made that impulse purchase because, I mean, that looks so much more expensive than it is. Like, Charlotte Tilbury could be selling this and they would be charging you like $36 for it. But yeah, there was a stretch of time there where I was using this almost every single day. Just to finish off my eyeshadow look, I would just tap a little bit of this on the lid or in my inner corner, and it just always looks good. It's so easy. It looks expensive. So I would have to say Flower Beauty makes the best eyeshadow formula at the drugstore that I've tried. Now the next question was, what is the worst drugstore eyeshadow formula? And I actually decided to go with CoverGirl on this one because really just the reason is because I've never tried a CoverGirl eyeshadow that I actually liked. Now I know they did recently come out with those new clean quads that are like $14, so I have heard good things about that formula though, so I would be willing to try that. But I did try another quad from them last year. It was the True Naked Jet Setter quad, and it wasn't horrible, but it was really just very, very underwhelming. I didn't even like it as much as like the e.l.f. bite-sized quads, even though it is a few dollars more expensive. And then I also, a few years back, tried one of their larger True Naked quads. It was the True Naked Roses quad, and that one too, the quality, it was just very lacking in pigmentation. Some of the shades were just total duds. You could get a pretty look with it, but it just didn't compare to other eyeshadow formulas at the drugstore. Hopefully they've stepped it up with their new quads, but that's just one brand where I have not been impressed with their eyeshadows, at least in the past. Question number 12, drugstore brand that you used to love but aren't crazy about anymore. So I couldn't think of any drugstore brands that I just like have completely lost interest in that I once loved, but one brand that I kind of have I've kind of been side-eyeing a little bit lately is e.l.f. e.l.f. will always have a special place in my heart, unless they did something really bad. I'll always love e.l.f. because they're really the first brand that I got into when I got into makeup. It seems like e.l.f. is just trying to be the dupe brand now. They're just duping every popular high-end product, which in some ways is a genius marketing strategy at the moment because everybody is looking for more affordable options these days. But their prices have gotten so high, and I know the same could be said for a lot of drugstore brands right now, but they're now selling their new O-Face lipstick. I really wanted to try this, but then I saw that it's $9 for a lipstick. And I doubt this lipstick is that much better than the Seriously Satin lipsticks that they had. I mean, clearly the packaging does look better. These were like $3, so I feel like, maybe they could charge $6 for this new lipstick, but $9 for an e.l.f. lipstick? That's like, it just makes me sad because it just shows how much times have changed. I'm looking at their site right now. The new Whoa Glow SPF, $14, which is a lot cheaper than the expensive version that they're duping, but it's still really expensive for e.l.f. And then they also recently came out with a $22 serum, the new Youth Boosting Advanced Night Retinoid Serum, which looks to me like it's meant to be duping a Paula's Choice retinoid serum. I know retinoid serums can get really expensive, but my prescription tretinoin with my insurance is like $12, so I think I would rather just stick to that, honestly. $22 for an e.l.f. serum, that just, I don't know, there's something about that just pains me. Anyway, that's the one brand that, even though I still love them, there's still so many products that I do love, it's also getting on my nerves just how frequently they discontinue products, but they're just popping out new releases left and right, and their new releases seem to be doing quite well. It seems like people are really enjoying them. I definitely can't speak to the quality of these products, but it's just the price point. I also want to be clear, like, I don't mind them making dupes of popular high-end products. I mean, I love finding affordable alternatives to expensive products just as much as the next person, but it just seems like that is like their strategy now, and we're not really seeing a whole lot of originality from them anymore. So that's what's kind of got me side-eyeing e.l.f. a little bit, but I haven't given up on the brand, Like I said, I still have so many favorites from them, but lately I've just been, I don't know, I just feel like e.l.f. has changed. Next question, drugstore product you didn't expect to like, but that totally wowed you. And I'm gonna have to go with these two hard candy quads. So these are two of the Hard Candy Moods quads, and the shades I have here are Envy and Buzz. They did send me a bunch of different shades of these. I ended up keeping a handful of them. I didn't keep every single one, but a couple of these really didn't wow me very much. The Burn and the Bear ones, these were both just okay. Not a whole lot of pigmentation from the mattes. I really had to build those up. And, the shimmers were fine, a little flaky, but just really nothing to write home about. But these two, the yellow and the green ones, I've really been enjoying. I used the Envy one in my most recent Everyday Makeup Drawer Get Ready With Me that I did at the end of that video. I did a really, bright, springy green eye look, mainly using this quad, and I was actually really impressed with the formula of these and the way that they performed. It's one of those that I would say is good for the price. I'm not going to pretend that these are as good as some, high-end eyeshadows, but for the price, for $4, if you just want a fun little monochromatic green quad, you can get a really beautiful look with this. This shimmery green here is so pretty. There's that shimmery green. I mean, look at that. Look at that shine. It has almost like a bluish sheen to it as well, very sparkly, really good quality. So, and the two mattes in here I actually felt like were pretty easy to work with. And then the Buzz one is the yellow one. I think this might be my favorite. I've been looking for a good little curated monochromatic yellow palette, and I feel like I finally found the one. The matte yellow in here, really good quality. Like, I was expecting it to be chalky and to not really show up on my eyes, but I mean, just look at that swatch there. It is like full pigment, really, really blendable, just, yeah, super high quality. And then I also really like this shimmer in here too. It's similar to that green one in the Envy Quad. There's that right there. But just super sparkly, really almost like a wet look on the eyes. I was really pleasantly surprised by these. I wasn't expecting to like them, especially because the first one I tried was the Bear Quad, and this one was just so unremarkable to me. I really had to keep layering on that deep brown, and it just wasn't wowing me. And I feel like neutral shadows tend to be easier for brands to formulate than colorful shadows, but not in this case. These two, the green and the yellow, I would say are really impressive quality. I also like the Per Quad, this rosy one, but I would have to say these two are my favorite. And then the very last question is, what is your favorite affordable eyeshadow palette right now? And I decided to go with the Wet n Wild Color Icon palette in the shade Call Me Sunshine. I know I've already talked about this a lot on my channel, but this is such a good palette and it is under $5. Wet n Wild is still creating really great makeup at an affordable price. They have kept their prices low, unlike e.l.f. I do feel like Wet n Wild, Hard Candy, and Essence, those three brands have done a good job keeping their prices nice and low. And this palette is unbelievable quality for the price. Not a single dud shade in here. Really great alternative to Urban Decay Naked Honey. And this shade right here is one of the most beautiful drugstore eyeshadows I have ever tried. I mean, just look at it in the pan there. You see that? How reflective it is. Super, super sparkly, shifty. I was wearing this one day. This was like the main shade I had all over my lid. And even my boyfriend commented on it and said, that shadow looks really pretty. He was really surprised that it came from a $5 eyeshadow palette. So yeah, I think I'm going to be getting a lot of use out of this in the summer. I love warm browns and yellows like this in the summertime. I feel like these two would make a really good little pairing too, the Hard Candy Buzz and the Wet n Wild Sunshine, if you wanted like even more yellow to add in. But that would have to be my current favorite drugstore palette. So that was the drugstore makeup tag revisited. Thank you so much for requesting this video. I had a lot of fun going back and answering these questions again. Really goes to show just how much has changed in the past 3 years in the drugstore beauty world. A lot of new releases have come out. A lot of brands have just changed a lot since then. So I had fun going back and answering these questions again, but thank you so much for hanging out today. I hope you had fun. If you did, be sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to go above and beyond in supporting my channel, you can check out the Patreon or the channel membership where I upload bonus content each month. And otherwise, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you again very soon in my next video.